In this lecture segment, last semester students would like to share some of their lessons learned with you, and I'd like to offer some of my own suggestions as well. Okay, let's get started. For all the semesters I've been teaching this course, the last question on my final exam has always been the same. Please write some short lessons learned to next semester's CS12 students regarding how to succeed in this course, things you think they'd need to know, or anything else about the course that comes to mind. What do you wish you'd known much sooner? Unless you indicate otherwise, I'd like to share your anonymous comments with them at the beginning of next semester, just as I did with you at the beginning of this semester. So what I did was transcribe their responses from off the final exams, sort them into broad general topics, and group similar responses together. The comments appearing on the following slides are their verbatim comments to you from last semester. They have much more to say than we can possibly cover here, but let's take a look at some representative comments. For starters, here are some general suggestions for course success from last semester's students. These things will be mentioned in more detail elsewhere, but these are the basic principles for success that seem to come up over and over again in their comments. Here are some of their representative comments. Overall, my advice to you is to not give up when things get difficult in this class, ask for help when needed, take advantage of code review, and give yourself lots of time to complete assignments. If I could travel back in time, I would tell myself to give myself more time to work on some of the longer assignments, and to use the resources available to me more, like the example code and the video lectures. The best advice that I could give would be to get started on the material for the week as soon as possible and to take advantage of code reviews. Always start assignments early and give yourself ample time to watch every lecture video. Don't get behind on assignments, start projects early, attend the office hours whenever possible, and never stop asking questions. Listen to the weekly office hours. Those are where I found the best information to help me with the assignments. Start early, take things one step at a time. Having the time to debug your code, tidy it up, and submit it for a code review prior to turning it in makes a huge difference. As stated elsewhere, all course materials needed will be available to you on Canvas, so make full use of them. Regarding the Canvas materials, the general sentiment was to make full use of them and read them all every week before starting on the assignments, and to not skip over the code walkthroughs. Here's what last semester's students had to say. Look over all of the lecture material as well as example code, as they can help you with most of your questions regarding your own programs. Ensure to watch all videos, both lecture and demo. They go through everything in depth and might answer any questions you might have if you didn't already watch them. Definitely watch the code walkthroughs if you get stumped. They are a massive help. I wish I knew to follow lecture videos along with the course notes. I didn't do that, so I ended up having to annotate all my notes while studying for the exams. It is more efficient to annotate the notes as you watch the lectures, so you do not need to later when you are prepping for the midterm or final. Please utilize the past peers and resources available to you if you feel stuck. Over the semesters, students have consistently offered similar advice regarding the assignments. Namely, start on them as soon as possible and give yourself time to deal with problems. And keep up on them because they do build on each other. I'll probably harp on these things often, but these are past students talking, not me. In their words, to succeed in this course, you have to start the assignments early into the week. Make sure you don't wait all week before starting the assignments. Take your time, but start early. Make sure to watch all the lecture videos and look over any example codes before starting an assignment. Don't procrastinate. Get going on the lectures early in the week and work on assignments gradually. Each assignment builds on each other, meaning that the code you used in the previous assignment is required for the following assignment. Something that really prevented me from getting early starts on some of the assignments was the overthinking of what was required. For every single assignment given, a grading rubric will be provided, and this will be the vehicle for providing you with detailed feedback specific to your efforts. The expectation is that you will use this as a pre-submittal checklist and will then review and incorporate any feedback provided into your subsequent programs to improve them. As your fellow students put it, and it is also especially important to pay attention to the feedback on the homework from the professor. This is how you can improve your grades. Coding style and conventions are the little details, the good rules of the road in programming, which help make your code read and look better, both to you and to anyone else reading it, such as an instructor trying to grade it. We will be emphasizing lots of these little things in the first half assignments to help make them regular habits. Here's what your peers had to say.
I wish I knew sooner that the coding conventions really are important, but not difficult to accommodate. Make sure to pay close attention to the example code to understand the proper coding conventions, especially for comments and blank space, in order to effectively utilize it in your own programs. Grading is very strict, especially with formatting and how the code looks, so learning those aspects are very important as well. A good thing to note is to always read over your code as you write it, not to just make sure it works, but that it also complies with the coding conventions of this course. If you can get coding conventions to be a habit in your code, do that as soon as possible.
By contrast, good programming practices are larger, more general habits and best practices that help you write your code with more efficiency, less stress and frustration, and better end results. These are the good habits will help you develop over the course of the semester. As your predecessors learned through hard experience,
even though it might use different parts of your brain, writing code is a lot like writing essays. The best way to approach this class would be to view the lecture materials ASAP to understand the material, and then work on program assignments in small pieces day by day until it's complete, rather than in one sitting. Also, do not be afraid to walk away from the program if you get stuck, or even to take a nap. Seeing it with fresh eyes definitely helps, because otherwise you would likely be drilling yourself for a small error. Take brain breaks if you get stuck, and come back to the work refreshed. Pay attention and have a good template for your code in the beginning, and you will do well. That way you will code less. No one wants to start from zero every time you code. Make sure to do extensive testing. I put it off in a program or two and missed some mistakes that hurt my grade.
Experimenting is simply the idea that to get good at any skill such as programming, it's not enough to simply read or watch the lecture videos and do the assignments. You really need to be willing to play around with the language a bit more on your own and study the examples provided to see what makes them tick. In the words of your predecessors,
don't be afraid to practice and make mistakes. Practicing is a good habit in programming. With every new piece of code, you'll understand it better. Learn from mistakes. Use errors as learning opportunities. On your mistakes, you'll learn how to get better and how to do it. Slowly work through the programs and try different things until you get what you need.
Debugging refers to the overall process of finding and fixing problems in your code. The problems might involve syntax errors in your code, in which case you'll have compiler errors to address before you can even run your code. But once your code compiles and can be run, you may still have logic or runtime errors. For this, you need to be able to see inside your code and trace its path of execution. And for this, using the JGrasp debugger will be invaluable. Here's what your predecessors learned about that.
The debugger tool is your friend. Familiarize yourself with the debugger. I remember during the debugger assignment, it was stated that last semester's students wished they'd known about it earlier.
Here's a biggie which students always seem to struggle with: asking questions. I realize it's often very hard for younger students to do, but it's vital in an online setting like ours. And the ones who were brave enough to take that leap usually found themselves amply rewarded. Here's what they had to say.
If you need help, ask. Do not struggle for too long if you can't do something. Never let yourself stay stuck on a concept that you are not understanding. Please don't be afraid or hesitant to ask Professor Lapkus for help. He does an exceptional job at responding promptly and is great at giving you subtle pieces of advice to push you in the right direction. Yeah, I think I do. Just don't be scared to ask for help. Students should know when entering this course to be comfortable asking questions, because there are parts of coding that can be difficult or confusing, which is okay and understandable. Professor and past peers are always here to help and will guide you in the right direction.
As noted in the syllabus, I will gladly do one-time code reviews of your assignments before you turn them in. This helps you wring out the simple errors in your programs, helps me to expedite the grading, and generally results in better scores for you. As past students noted,
code reviews are a very big help. It is very helpful to have another pair of eyes proofread your code. You can succeed in the course by doing a code review for every assignment. You won't lose anything from doing so. Please do code reviews. The last step is submitting the assignment for code review. This is a vital step in order to get an A. If I did not do the code review all semester, I probably would have a C in the class. Even if you're confident you have everything right, it doesn't hurt to get it checked beforehand. I actually did not start doing the code review until about week 5 because I saw how many points I was losing and dumb mistakes I was making.
Office hours will be held online weekly, as noted in the syllabus. In these sessions, we can get questions answered in real time, do some demos of the upcoming assignments, and have some time to demonstrate things like debugging programs. Students who attended regularly found these sessions very helpful, or as they put it,
I'd tell myself to join the weekly Zooms for general questions and tips. These give a detailed overview of the assignment and often include the beginning code to help you get started. If a program is too difficult or you don't understand something about the program, make sure to take advantage of the office hours. It can be very helpful. Attending or at least watching the office hours and all of the code walkthroughs are very beneficial for all of the assignments, especially the second half of the semester assignments. I wish I would have known to watch all the Zooms earlier. They go over a lot in them and help and reduce confusions. When I started, I did not watch the Zoom recordings and struggled a little on the assignments, but I started watching them later on and realized they really do help, especially after the halfway mark of the semester.
As noted early in the syllabus, the course pacing will start out leisurely, but will pick up steam quickly as the semester advances, particularly in the second half after the midterm. So be forewarned, or as prior students point out,
Professor Lapkus warns us about the rigor of the second half of the course, and he isn't kidding. It might seem easy at first, but the programs keep getting harder and harder. The uptick in speed or difficulty after week 8 is not a joke. Don't procrastinate. Seriously, starting even one day earlier can be a huge help. Once I saw how complex they began to be, I started becoming a bit more proactive than reactive, which helped a lot, but it definitely was a shock when we passed the halfway mark of the semester. The class will gradually progress into more difficult materials and programs, especially after the midterm. So be sure to practice good time management beforehand to prepare for heavier topics and workload down the road. However, once you are past the halfway mark, you will hate yourself for not dedicating more time to study the fundamentals and will have to go back and relearn.
over all the semesters I've been teaching this course, effective time management has consistently been the biggest and most painful lesson learned, and the one which elicits the most responses. The same general themes keep coming up every semester. I can point these things out until I'm blue in the face, but please heed past students' advice such as this.
To succeed in this course, you will need to have good time management, especially if you are taking other hard classes. Stay on top of things or you're going to be endlessly snowballed into falling behind. This isn't a class to push off assignments or material and wait till later in the week to get started. It is highly recommended to start everything early and to do them in chunks so that you don't feel the weight of it during the weekend. You are going to need to put in the work for this course. Do not underestimate coding and the time it takes to write a fully functional programming. Coding can take hours. Please, just for the love of God, do not save everything until the last second. No, you will not be able to complete a big project a couple of hours before it's due.
Finally, some general encouragement from last semester's students to you, which I think nicely sums things up.
This class is going to throw a lot of new concepts and material toward you, but you got this. Know that you will have to dedicate a good amount of time to get the coursework done, but also know that you have all the resources you need to do it. This was one of the most time-consuming classes for me, but it was all definitely worth it. Just take your time, breathe, plan your week according to the material posted, and take the extra time to really dig into the programs. Soon enough, you will be looking back at the material and know exactly how it all works. Hope you have a great semester. Good luck to you all.
Well, there you have it. Last semester's students' advice to you. There's lots of useful, hard-won advice here. I'll surely be harping on many of these things during the semester, but please take heed of this advice from your peers. And hopefully you too will be able to pay it forward to next semester's students at the end of this semester. Finally, here's some advice that I'd like to leave you with based on my experience in teaching this course. Divide and conquer. Tackle any big programming assignment by breaking it down into smaller pieces and solving those pieces one at a time. Begin any program you'll write with pseudocode. Start all your new programs with the program template we'll be creating soon. Then begin by creating a commented outline of what you want your code to do without having to worry about all the details yet. Get in the habit early on of using a quick, tight programming cycle. Make some code changes, save your changes, compile your code, test it, and then repeat. Over and over again, I see students try to write their programs in one pass. Then when that code blows up with compile errors, they have no idea as to where to start to fix their problems. You'll get a taste of the preferred incremental approach when you create your first Hello World program this week. Along those lines, simplicity. Get something simple working first. Then gradually build it up and keep adding on to it. Do not try to write an entire program in one shot. Rather, start small and keep adding on to it. Again, you'll get practice with this approach when you write this week's Hello World program. Finally, do your very best to keep up with the class. Don't let yourself get behind in the material or on the assignments, because everything builds upon earlier concepts. In particular, programs later in the semester will directly extend and build upon earlier ones. This will be very important to keep in mind after the midterm. And finally, please remember, I am always here to help you with that in any way I can. I'll leave you with this one final thought. There is no shame in not knowing. The shame lies in not finding out. If in doubt, if unsure, if confused, make sure to do something to figure it out. It's okay to get stuck. Don't let yourself stay stuck. Okay, that's the end of this lecture segment. We'll pick back up by starting to get into Java itself.